Hello, hello. I can see some of the chats here, but there's a good chance that as the chats come in, I won't be able to see everything. And for those that are just joining, this is being recorded, so you will get a chance to get a copy of this. So I'm sharing what I consider to be my secret sauce of how I've been building custom data viz with Claude. I've been working on trying to solve this problem for quite some time. I'd say probably over a year, starting with ChatGPT. And I felt I've learned a lot of mistakes, made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot from them. And I want to try to pass on that knowledge so you don't have to take as much time as it took me to get up and running. So let's get started and talk about, well, why are we doing this in the first place? Well, first of all, whether it's Claude or Codex or whatever favorite AI coding tool you like to use, this is all basically built for speed. I mean, when you use Claude or Codex, you're running very fast. It's also built for cost. I mean, let's be real. Some of the data viz products that are on the market, don't want to name them, but you can look at public companies like Salesforce. These things are pretty expensive, and we used them in the past. They're difficult to deal with. They require pretty good technical expertise, but it's just really challenging. And then last but not least, you can replace them with old tools. So let me just move a couple things on my screen here and get going. So what I want to try to do, and I hope I'm successful, is I want to jump right in and try to build a live demo right in front of you, show you how long it takes. So if you look at the top, it says build an analytics dashboard, ClickHouse database with data from StatsDrone. We're using the MySQL connector, which, if that doesn't mean anything to you, think about it like an API. It's just a little different and a little unique. And recipe and ingredients included. So think about it when you're cooking. You've got a recipe which tells you what you need to do, and then you have your ingredients. And in this case, I'm going to have everything lined up for you. So let's just start with our first prompt. Now, I've already pre-prompted this in advance, so there's a little bit here, but I've actually done a lot of deep work behind the scenes. So what I'm going to show you right now is, let me see if I can find the project. Of course, I'm not going to find it. It's this one right here. So this might, again, go over a lot of heads, but again, this is just all the ingredients. You got two files here, which tell Claude what I need you to understand when you're pulling in the data. So as soon as it sees it, I'm basically saying, I want you to build a database, and I'm giving you the whole recipe. One thing I want to tell you as well is I already came up with the design for this new dashboard, and it's this new product just launched, I think it was a week ago. It's called Stitch with Google. You can literally type in a prompt, and my prompt was very basic. I'm like, hey, I'm making a dashboard. I've got some data points. It's affiliate marketing data, and I need some graphs. Build it for me. So it did that, and I think this took maybe a couple minutes. And then all I needed to do here was to export things. So I need to highlight the screens. I click export. I go to zip. I download it. So I've already done this in advance. So right now that's actually sitting on my computer here. So let's just go right back to here. We're going to click to copy, and I'm going to open up one of my many Claude terminals. So it's this project right here. So I'm going to hit this, let it run. And this is probably going to take me 10 minutes, and it might take longer if I miss some of the prompts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this run in the background. I'm going to move it off of my screen, which you can't see on my side. So hopefully I don't miss this, but this is going to be a very easy project. And basically what I'm really doing is, let me hide this one here too. What I'm essentially doing is I'm basically taking the MySQL data feed, I'm building a database, I've given it the whole parameters of what that database needs to look like. So if you don't know how to build databases, you know what, I didn't know how to build them until 6 months ago either. This does it all for you. And then once the database is built, you have your dashboards connected, and then you're off and running. So let this run in the background, and let me go to the next slide and talk about the data workflow. So this is a very high level concept for most people. And I think for some of the people that are maybe watching this, that are my personal peers, they're probably looking at this going, all right, this is basics, John. But let me just try to break it down to you and where I think we're going in the next year when it comes to building products and building data viz and using all these amazing AI tools as we speak. We got ingest, which is pulling in your data. We're talking about API keys, and it can even be as basic as using a CSV file. Like your Google Sheets, you download it, great, or you can even keep the sheet. You can connect your API key to the Google Sheet, and then you're up and running. The store, these are the databases. So there's a lot of nuances in here, but if you have, let's say, a friend who's really knows what they're doing, you can kind of lean on them and say, hey, what database should I use? And what you do is you basically just put that into a bunch of code or a markdown file, and it becomes part of your prompt. I mean, you can do this without really knowing what you're doing, as long as your database has some structure. And then the last parts are the kind of easy parts, but you need the foundation first. As soon as you got the foundation, you set yourself up for the analyze, alert, and act, which is analyze is your reports. Alerts are building the things that we really want that are, in my opinion, very difficult to do in a lot of data viz tools that exist on the market today. And then act is the future of this space, which is going to be agents. Agents that will be able to take any of these insights or data points and be able to do stuff for you automatically. Like, I'll give you an example. If we're using StatsDrone data and let's say our commission rate looks like it's dropping, you can email the affiliate manager with this data point automatically and not have to even think about what you're doing. It just become automated if you build this perfect platform. So let's move on to using AI for data. So I'm going to try to explain as best as possible what I'm doing and how I think I can help everyone else get better at this, especially if you're starting out. Now, there's two ways of getting your answers. It's like you start with what you want to solve, and then you have at the very end what you want to achieve. And in the middle is possibly AI. And it's like, where does it fit in? And there's two ways of doing this. The first way is the way I think people should at least try to, because you want to make mistakes and fail. That's exactly how I started. So if you just take a database or a data set and ask AI to analyze it, it can, but there's a chance that it will make mistakes and it could create problems. So if you look at all the bullet points I've added here, I basically explain what's the problem on the left side, which is using AI to analyze data. It always needs tokens, which is money. You need to constantly validate the results. Like, I was at the bank yesterday and they said AI is giving them more work because every time they use AI, they have to validate it. It's a real problem. Your AI needs to be on. So hopefully AI doesn't go offline for me today, like Claude. Otherwise, I'm screwed. No privacy. It's from a technical point of view. You want to pretend like privacy is not always going to be a given, regardless of terms and conditions, because hacks do happen. And on the right side is how I want to explain how you build for it. So don't build a product to use AI to get the data and make the answer. Use AI to build the product that is going to generate the answer, and then you get your final answer at the end. So the methodology is that once it's built, use AI to build an amazing machine. It doesn't need tokens. It doesn't need security. It doesn't need to have Claude on in case Claude goes offline or ChatGPT. And you don't have to validate it with the exception of the first time you validate. Now, you don't want to just take it for granted, but having not needing to validate is the core concept here. And I think a lot of people get lost on trying to use data for AI or trying to even do data viz for AI. This I think trips up a lot of people. And this is another deeper concept, so I'm going to explain it. For most people, you might not need to fully understand it, with the exception that when you do get started, this is exactly how you can make mistakes. So if you look at the bottom, I've got some basic data. It's just made up. But the idea behind it is this. It's you start with data and you're asking AI to try to give you some insights. Now, if there's no labels behind any of this data, AI is going to do whatever it thinks it can do. It's going to give you an answer, but it might not be right. And AI just doesn't want to disappoint. What AI should be doing is asking you, what is the context of it? And once it understands the context, that is behind this concept of like a semantic layer where it has understanding and meaning. Now you give that database the right labels, then you can give it into your ChatGPTs or your Claude for getting those answers. So I did a very quick experiment. I said, which affiliate program or which program should I send more traffic to? So I just made up these numbers, but these are numbers that I typically see when I look at affiliate data. It's kind of like you see everything from like lots of clicks and high FTDs, but low player value. And it's like, there's a lot of insights to it that I know because of my own personal experience. But personally, what I did was I went and said, okay, I took this data and I went into Perplexity, went for an answer. I went into ChatGPT for an answer. And I went to Claude. I did this last week, and no joke, I got 3 different answers. Yesterday, I got the same answer. Okay, good. Something happened. I don't know why. It was the exact same data set and the exact same prompt. But what's interesting, I said, give me the top 3 programs. And they all did something different. Now, we're looking at Claude. Claude actually makes, in my opinion, as of today, the best data viz. But when I said, give me your ranking, it basically said, okay, love to shave affiliates was number 2. And by the name I gave it, Love to Shave Affiliates is basically low player values. I mean, I'm just kind of doing that on purpose. And, when I go back to the other ones, it's like, it said maybe Good Affiliates was actually a decent program. So it basically gave me the rankings, and same thing with Perplexity. So inconsistent results. And if I do this tomorrow, I don't know if I'm going to get the same result. So let's go back here and let's talk about different ways of using AI. And what I mean by this is the wrong way. A lot of people do a lot of careless things, and I've seen this happen many times where they put API keys inside. What a good AI chatbot will do is basically say, you shouldn't do that and you should change your keys. People put confidential data inside AI. Even if you have a paid subscription, you don't want to do it. But I'm going to explain a bit more about how you can use AI on your side as a real superpower. Okay, and one more comment about API keys. Whenever you're dealing with this stuff, this really did happen to me a couple of years ago. One of our developers was pulling data from the API key from Ahrefs, and they accidentally just pulled the same data set over and over and over again. This was actually one of 4 bills, so it wasn't the final amount that we were asked to pay. I want to thank Ahrefs for not making us pay the whole thing, but when you do these things, there are many situations where there are other services where if you're not careful, it's not their responsibility, it's yours. So you really have to be on top of your API keys and not create situations where you pull too much data in such that you're going to either get blocked or get one of these really nasty invoices. Another high level concept, I think a lot of the smart people in the room will obviously understand this one, but for everyone else, I think this is where we're going to see major transformation in the next year, where a lot of companies are using the databases they've been comfortable with for years and years. And until they become AI ready, they might not know what the change looks like and the reasons behind it. So on the left, we've got MySQL, and MySQL it's one of the most popular databases in the world. It's free and open source. And if you think about WordPress, it's powering maybe 40% of websites online today. So you can't escape MySQL. It's everywhere. It's great for data, but it kind of fails when it comes to trying to be AI ready. And that gets into a concept of vectorization. Now, I'm going to also say that MySQL does have really good features to become AI ready, but there's other databases that have basically come on the market or made some modifications to be even better. In the middle, we've got something that's more analytical. I'm personally working a lot on this type of collection of databases. If you see it highlighted, it might be difficult to read, but it says ClickHouse. ClickHouse is something I'm using, and it's amazing. It is super fast, and it's got some really cool features. And then at the very end is AI-ready databases, which is it's a concept of vectorization of data and semantic search. So if anyone has heard of semantic SEO, it is a real thing. And then once you realize where all the stuff is used, that's when you start kind of putting all the things together and realizing, wait a minute, I see a pattern here. So I don't want you to read what's in front of the screen, but what I want to explain is the two concepts. We have Google and we have Intercom. And Google, what makes Google really special is that they vectorize a lot of the data. So if you look at the very top here in the search, it's like you search for best affiliate tools for revenue tracking. Now, what Google does, and a lot of people don't understand, is they vectorize this phrase such that they know how to find other similar, highly relevant topics. So they do it really fast, and they make sure that they're highly relevant. That's something most search engines didn't do from the last 20 years, and now everyone's kind of trying to copy Google. And Intercom. Intercom they've got a really cool AI feature. We use it. It's called FinAI. But how they're doing it is they've got the regular database, but then they're vectorizing the content inside such that it becomes a very fast lookup, and it's a highly relevant search. So if you think about, I'll go to the next page to use the example. If you think about here as the keywords, we got casino, sports betting, affiliate revenue, and pizza. And it's like, well, they're totally separate keywords. So from a keyword search point of view, you're going to get not matches. But how do you get similar matches that are highly relevant? And it's when you vectorize and turn them into numbers, you can kind of see that the numbers are similar. So that goes in a separate database. You get to look it up, and then you end up with this AI-powered knowledge and access. So what do you want to build? I want you to leave your comments here. I'm not following the comments right now because I've got this webinar to do. but I want to know what you guys really want to build or what you're trying to build. I'm curious to hear the case studies, the things that you want to solve. I don't know if we'll be able to help, but I'd like to learn from you to be able to see what kind of content we can create after. And while we're at it, I want to ask a quick favor. If you're watching this from LinkedIn, just do a quick repost. I want to see if we can get some more people on here. So yeah, let's talk about it. What you want to build. We are almost done with what I started from the beginning. We got a The reason why I didn't want to show this to you is because it keeps spinning. It asks for like, do you want to continue? And basically it's connecting to my local machine to build a lot of these things. And we're close to being done, but you know what? I'm just going to show you what I did on a previous dashboard, which was not that one, but this one. So this one is basically the same model I built, and it took all the data in and it built me my first dashboard. This whole process of building that database connected to the MySQL connector and getting what you're seeing on this screen was 9 minutes. And it's like, I can't believe it. Now, if the dashboards are working as expected, then you're happy. But what's amazing is you can literally just do things like this, where you go back into Claude, and let's pretend this thing was finished running. You can say like, hey, I want to change the colors. This wasn't what I thought it would be. I need you to make another example. You just literally type exactly what you want in here. And then when it's done, well, it looks like the new one's live. Let me just see it. All right, so it replicated almost the same thing. I think it's the same design. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see if I don't know if I got any tables. Yes, I got tables. So I'm going to use one of the tricks that I was meant to show a bit later on. So I wanted to, let me see if I can find it. Nope, Spark. So I'm just doing a quick live example. So one thing you can do, and I want to offer a word of caution, that you don't want to copy people's designs, because there's something about intellectual property that you can do and can't do. So I'm not a lawyer. You got to figure this one out for yourself. But if you go ask ChatGPT, like, when am I in the rights to use different models of designs? You want to pay attention to that. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to be like, you know what? I really love these spark lines. I want both of these. So I'm going to go back there. I'm going to go back into my Claude right here. I really like these spark lines. Put them in the table. Give me both designs. And then paste the image. And I think that's all I need to do. So I think that's going to run. That's probably going to ask me yes for a couple times. I'm going to move it off screen. And yeah, I think that one is very close to being done. I'm going to let that run in the background. I'm going to get back to it, but I'm going to show 2 more examples of things I've been working on. And let me see if I can find them. All right, so here's the second project. So Ahrefs just came out with this really cool tool called Firehose. If you Google Firehose, you're going to find different keywords because it's a brand new product and Google's not really understood what it is. So this is cool. It's like stream the web. You can get notifications on lots of different things. So I'm like, okay, I want to get started with this. So I went in, I got my API keys. So let me see if I can log in. Hopefully I log in pretty quickly. Okay, I'm in. So I didn't really know what the hell I was doing here. Like, I'm still pretty inexperienced dealing not just with some API keys, but a lot of different systems. So I get here, I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on. But I knew I needed to create some tokens. So I did that here. They have these things called taps. So I created a tap, and it's like, you can see here, online slots with best RTP. Like, I'm actually getting some results. And if I look at my taps, I created 2 things: casino complaints tracker and a finance tracker. So here's what I had to do with the API stuff. I mean, this does not look fun. I think for most people, they're like, this is a hell no. But what I did was I literally just copied this document and I went back into my Claude and I said, hey, Claude, I need some help. I've got my tokens, but I don't know what I'm doing here. And I don't want to take an hour to learn, which I know I can. I just want you to figure this out really quickly. So you can just download this page, upload it to Claude. Claude figured it out really quickly. And I'm still running this other one in the background. Let me show you what Claude ended up building for me. And it was, give me a second. Here. So this was the final product. It's super damn cool. I've got data feeds from those different things. So I'm looking to track daily comments or daily articles posted about casino complaints. And I also wanted to do the same for finance. So I've got my dashboards here. I mean, I've got my data. I've got like the total number of events, everything. So maybe you wouldn't say this is data visualization, but I mean, it's real data. And if I want to put a graph on it, I can. I mean, I've not even fully checked this out. So We only have a single day of events, so this is just a giant block, but I've got my rules, I got my events, I've got this really cool stuff. Like, I'm just pretty blown away by it. Let me go back to my Claude and see if we're almost done that one. And while this one is still running in the background, I want to show you the casino complaints one I built. So I'm going to show you more the final product rather than the process, but I will explain the process. So if any of you saw when I posted last week about how I built a casino complaints tracker, I'll explain what's behind it. So with Claude, you can build things called scrapers, and they scrape the internet. Now, what you want to do if you're going on any website is you want to basically look at the robots.txt and go, are they telling you that they're not giving you permission to scrape? So if that's the case, then you want to avoid scraping. But for the most part, most websites, to my knowledge, don't do this. The next thing we're going to have are bots. It's like, do you want to block bots? And that's a whole other topic. So we've got our dashboard here. I've scraped so far 94,000 different casino complaints. I've got Casino Guru, Ask Gamblers, Casino Reviews, Casino Meister, LCB. You can see it's not fully done. I mean, I still got a lot more to do, but this is a pretty cool start. I mean, so not only did I get my data, I built this into an app, and then I basically said, I need to visualize this. So I just asked for those specific prompts, and I got my answer on the very first time. Now, I didn't spend any more time building more on top of it, but I think this one I haven't even seen before. Yeah, there's my heat map. So this is, I think, my scraping work. It's showing how much work this thing has done. So what this is meant to do, it's meant to be like a real-time dashboard of like, how are complaints coming in per day? So that is 3 projects I built. I just wanted to showcase what that looked like. And let me see if this thing's still going. So this is the one trying to build the spark lines in the other dashboard. So while I'm waiting for that, I mean, I just showed you 3 projects. So in the comments, I'm going to read for them after what you guys have for ideas, and there's lots here. I'm just going to show a couple other things that I've built, and they're going to be part of the tips that I'm showing back in the webinar itself. So actually, let me just go through the last part, and then I'll come back to this one. So we know what you want to build. Let's talk about data tips. And these are some of my best practices, things I figured out myself and things that I've learned from others. So let's get into it. Fake modeling of data. I've been doing this for a long time. We don't look at our customers' data by default with StatsDrone, but trying to get them to share the data is difficult because they're like, I don't want to do that, John. So I'm kind of going like, give me some ideas of what your data looks like so I can try to model it, so I can build the dashboards, show it to you so I can convince you that I know what I'm doing, and hopefully win you over as a customer. And data modeling is a really great tool for just kind of experimenting. Like, I do this all the time. You can literally go right in Claude and say, hey, I want you to build a model that looks like this. Just make it up as you go. You'll get your CSV files that look real, and you can even get API keys that work identical to being like a real data set, but it's all for the purpose of testing. So this one is probably underrated, but this is a great way to get started, especially if you want to use tools like Lovable, if this Claude cowork or this Claude code looks intimidating. Use data viz screenshots. So I already gave you an example where I went into here and I basically said, you know what, I love these spark lines. I want to kind of use the same, not the exact design, but I want to use the same product for building my dashboards. So when you do that, you can basically build data viz really quickly. And when I've built all my pieces of models that were kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like my work shed where I really wanted to use them for a final product. Sometimes I get lazy and I'm like, you know what, I could copy the code, but the code is going to be probably a little different. I just do a screenshot and I say, you know what, this is exactly what it looked like. And my job is to make it look even better and work better. So you can use those screenshots within your own organization and basically take what you already have and just make it better. Obscure and replicate APIs. This was something I was actually going to show you as something I really built. It's very difficult, getting access to data, and I have people wanting me to build custom dashboards and BI tools for them, but they don't always want to share the data. But if I knew what the data looked like, rather than building that CSV fake data generator, I could actually model it as close to them. So what I can do is with this tool, you can build it yourself. This took me an hour, and I'll literally show you what it looks like. It was, give me a second, API modeler here. I haven't tested it, so the plugin is broken. I need to reload it, but let me go back here. What is inside this plugin is basically you as the customer get to decide what the data looks like. So you can model on your side, so it can actually use your real data, and then you can decide what you want to hide. Like, are there companies or columns you want to delete, or what do you want to obscure? Like, do you want to make it so it's blurred, or do you want to make it so it's more fake or off by 50%, or cut it down by 50%? Whatever you want for a variance, I'm gonna build this tool so you have the power of doing it. So you can actually hand me keys that look like your data, but it's not the real data, and I can actually build you the same platform that works as close to what you need for what you want. So blur and obfuscate, I always mess that word up, confidential data. So I don't personally know if these features exist in Tableau, Power BI, Looker Studio, but as I was building this and getting ready for this whole presentation, I was like, oh, I want to show this really cool thing I built for this new player reports we've done in StatsDrone. But as I was doing it, I'm like, it has player IDs here. So I basically said, well, wait a minute. If I want to share this with anyone, is it possible that I can actually hide the data? With Claude, this is 2 minutes of work. You prompt it, and it's probably going to have to do, all this stuff where you say, okay, you ask for it, you got to say yes a couple times, but eventually you get what you want. So I built a tool that now says I can have it as visible, blurred, or obfuscated, where instead of making it blurred, it shows the first and last digit, and you can decide what this looks like. So if you have other stakeholders that need to see your data, you can basically build as much control as you want. I love this one. So I think we've got some really cool people in the chat. I see Santosh Achari from Biz Equity, and I did a podcast interview with, I think it was Santosh Jain, and he was telling me, like, these guys have been building dashboards for a long time. So these guys are experts if you want to talk to them. They basically said that sometimes what happens in a lot of BI situations is dashboards get built and they never get looked at. I mean, this happens way too often. No one knows what the stats of this are, but it's probably 80%. I mean, I know I build a lot of dashboards and they don't get looked at. I know why they don't get looked at, but sometimes the main reason is because people aren't really building a good dashboard in the first place. So there's a concept that it was, he basically said you want to put analytics on your analytics if you can do that. So one way you can do it with the old school tools, let's pretend you're using Tableau and Looker Studio. If you put this on a page and the data is embedded, then you can put analytics on it to be like, how much time are my team actually spending on these dashboards? Now, what's amazing about Claude is I've actually built this whole analytics on analytics inside of my own products. So I know how much time I spent on my own apps, and it's a ridiculous amount. So, which is cool. But you really want to know this. Like, if you're spending weeks and a lot of money on dashboards, the last thing you want is to realize that you've got a big zero for no response at all. And then last but not least is ask AI for help. And what I mean by this, I'm going to get very specific. So last weekend, I had my business partner, Daryl. He was like, I want to see if I can learn to do with all what you're doing here, John, with all this stuff. So the first time you see this, this is intimidating as hell, but I can break this down and make this so it's not. This is like a big bouncer that's kind of getting in the way of you getting into the club, but they're just there for show. You can just walk right past them. So he was basically saying, like, okay, I want to get started. I helped him get started, but I already knew this was coming. He's like, hey, when I get this didn't work. What do I do? So I answered the first time. Then I answered the second time. Half of the time, I don't know. And I'm doing exactly what I do. I don't go to Google for this. I go to either ChatGPT or I go to Claude. Okay, we're almost done this one. So I'm going to either of those, and you can literally do everything. So I've got a ton of terminals open right here, as you can see. Let me just hide them all. So whenever I get an error, like, I don't have time to read the error because I'm not as smart as other people like Wojtek from Gamblitude, for example. But let's pretend this was an error. I just copy it and I go right back to Claude and be like, you can be shameless, babe. Look, I don't really know what I'm doing. Copy and paste. I'm not going to actually do that here, but you get the idea. And you can literally ask AI to solve all your problems, and it does amazing things. So I think probably there's a good chance that a lot of you here already know these things, but in the other cases, when I use that one example of going to here, where it's like you had this giant unwelcoming page of code and what you need to do to set everything up, you just download this, because copying all this as text, sometimes like Claude Code or ChatGPT, they don't like super long walls of text. They'd rather have you download it as a file. And once you have it as a file, you can just go back in here and download it. All right, so this one is done. We asked for our Spark tables and we got them. So we've got our YYY casino. We still have the same data that I expected. It looked pretty similar, so I think it actually made its own designs. These are shaded, and this is a different type. And it already did what I didn't have to ask it for, which is, hey, we have negative numbers in affiliate marketing, unfortunately. And when these things happen, it's like, we need to normalize them and make them red. I didn't even ask for it, but let's pretend that didn't happen. You go back in the Claude and you just say, hey, I need you to sort this thing out immediately. And so, yeah, asking AI for help is clearly understated. If you actually want to go in the deep end and learn some of the things I'm doing on the deep side of Claude, you can. But what I recommend for a lot of people is, like, again, when it gets intimidating, you start small. So you take your data sets, you go, okay, you know what? I'm in Lovable. I just want to do something really basic. And let's take, actually, you know what? Let's just do a live demo. Let's go to StatsDrone. Let's see if I've got it open here. You've got some data here. We have the ability to export it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Lovable and let me just get some data from one of these screens. Let's do it. Might take some time. I just got to find the right report. StatsDrone report. This one could be good. I'm not giving the prompts here. I'm actually doing what I told you not to do, but I basically don't want to type this out for 5 minutes while you guys watch. Normally what you'd want to do is you want to give it context and say, here's exactly what's inside the tables. When it says FTD, this is what it means. And if you want to do calculations between, let's say, rev share commission and net revenue, you'll get an effective rev share. That's a very good way to detect shaving. So when you put all this context in there, you're actually making it better. But try to make me some awesome dashboards. And then this is like, the basics, like how you get started. And then once you start learning that you add the context and like markdown files, that's when you can get better and take it to another level. So I'll let that run in the background. Sometimes Lovable is pretty fast, but let me go back here. So ask AI for help. Pretend like if I was your coach, just imagine if I'm not there. And this has happened to me where some of my mentors, I'm like, I feel bad picking up my phone and asking them messages. So I'm like, you know what? Let me see if I can get my answers here. And the things that you can get on AI today are unbelievable. And closing points, test and fail. I mean, you can't gain experience if you're not failing. And failing is kind of fun. Just don't do it when you're burning API keys that are going to cost you $10,000 in 10 days, or don't do it where you're, kind of giving away confidential data, whether it's code or confidential data itself. Try to be respectful and try to learn those basics. You can, if you don't understand how that works, you can go right back into ChatGPT and Claude and say, I don't understand how this works and I'm getting started. Teach me what I need to know so I don't make these mistakes, and you'll get everything. You can learn this very quickly. Let me go back. Start with Lovable. If everyone's coming from ground zero and you really want to get started, I always say Lovable just because it's super easy. It's not going to be like your product ready, but it's amazing for modeling what you want. So if you actually have a dev team, you can actually design what you want. They can download the code and they can basically say, you know what, we got half of what we need. We can take care of the other half and you're good to go. And learn Claude, whether it's Claude or Codex. I think there's a bunch of them on the market. I'm just too tired of keeping up. I'm stuck with Claude because I just love it. And if it goes down, I'll live with it unless they're down for days. There's a lot you can do with Claude. And I think Claude is getting crazier by the day. I mean, if you just pay attention to what's happening on sometimes LinkedIn or places like X, there's lots happening. And what I didn't get into in the whole scheme of things is how you can connect agents to this. So I'm going to show you a quick project that I built because I think we still got lots of time. Let me see if I can find it. It is this one. So I built a crazy dashboard that took a whole bunch of API keys, and I went to town. So we got StatsDrone, lots of data in here. We have Volume, which is a link tracking tool. I have no data in here, so that's why you're seeing a bunch of blanks. I have Google Search Console, like 2 different reports. I've got a crawl monitor from Cloudflare. This is super valuable for an SEO for people that care about rankings. If Google is struggling to crawl your site, you might see it here first before you see it in your Search Console. So pay attention to this. I've built my own monitoring tools for this. I've got newsletter stats. So it's like, hey, John, you've only done 3 newsletters this year. You need to get your game up. I've got QuickBooks, which I'm not going to show you because that would see our confidential data. I'm just looking behind my phone. I built a chatbot, which is cool, but I think chatbots need a lot more work to make them useful. If you're looking for like highly advanced chatbots that are kind of like super advanced, I mean, I'm just going to see if I can type it in here in the chat. Gamblitude. Check out Gamblitude. They've already built these things, and Biz Acuity. Correct me if I've typed that in wrong, guys. So yeah, what's cool about this is I've taken this to another level and started building. So I'm going to show you very specifically what I've been able to do. So I've built systems where I have automated alerts, and trying to build these things in tools like Tableau are just like a nightmare. So I built what's called an MCP connector. An MCP is Model Context Protocol. It's basically like an endpoint. And let me see if I can bring up something here. So I have my dashboard that's in the background right now, which is this one. Let me actually just kind of click on it and go right to this one right here. Let's go to the rankings. So we got our Google Search Console data, and I'm able to ask prompts and saying, hey, Claude, this is Claude Cowork, by the way. So I've made an MCP connector, and that didn't take me very long at all. It was super easy. And now I can actually generate reports, and I can actually use this as another system to say, hey, if something goes sideways or our average revenue drops by 50% over the last 7 days of work, everyone needs a team notification in Slack. So it's really cool. You can do things like that. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper and show you the things that I've built with the new app that I've been working on called One Engine. I've been able to build everything. So what I showed you over, not here, but here, this was like the framework for building it. So what I've realized is like, how do I create a standard that people can kind of take this stuff and go, you know what, John, all this database talk is amazing. I'm glad you understand it, but can you make it such that when I build these things, it understands it for me? And that's when I realized that there's not a lot of standardization when it comes to the data pipelines, as well as the databases themselves, and then, of course, the reports. The reports is now the easy part. So I'm trying to now make the database part a lot easier. So if we go into here, I just built a lot of products. So I've actually built the API modeler. I need to refix it. That's going to be after this call. I built an affiliate lookup. So you can build these things yourself. And then if you build these tools, you can build data visualizations to say, how many reports are being generated per day? It's really cool to kind of build fun stuff like this. Let's see what else I've got. I've got surveys. I've got casino complaints, which I've already showed you. The Firehouse one I already showed. Google Search Console, I'm going to give you another example of like how cool we are in this age to have not only tools like Claude, but to be able to react so fast. So weeks ago, Google announced in their Search Console data that they're added branded versus non-branded keywords. And I basically said, okay, if the data is in the API, I just went to my Claude. I said, Google, according to Google, they have this. So look in the API and tell me if it's there. I did this the lazy way. And it said it's there. And it's like, do you want to build this into your dashboards? So I literally did that. Now I have branded versus non-branded keywords of StatsDrone. And I can actually go, what are our branded keywords and what are our non-branded? And if any competitors are watching, I'm not going to scroll below and show you what those keywords are. But it's really cool that you actually have these powers in addition to your ranking. So lower is better. So that's average position. Let me go to other things I've built. iGaming industry insights. I said, hey, we can build anything. Let me take PDF files from the public gaming companies. I don't have all of them. I only have 17. And I said, let's process them. This is a lot of data. And Google LM does this insanely well. So I said, let me just build it myself. And if there's any feeds, pull those feeds. So now I have feeds, I have the PDFs, and now I've got this running report. It's not complete yet. I've got probably like 50 companies I need to cover, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I've got this, I've got the companies, I got the financials, the EBITDA, the metrics, filing, and I've even built this as a feed. And what else do I've got? Tracking links. I've even built a content management system, and I'll show you what I've been able to do with that. So those reports that I was just showing you right now, I built this into an actual website. So when you get really good with all these data viz skills, where can you put them? You can put them on an app. You can put them on a website. It can be a public website. It can be private. And what you have in your hands today, when you get experience with this, is the ability to make it look as native as possible. So I do think we're going to be in a weird, massive transformation where things just change overnight. And when you have these skills, I think this is going to be, the new wave of AI, where it's the tools are going to become easier for all of us to use. If I can learn it, you can learn it. And as well, I think agents is the next coming of the next layer, or it's amplified AI. I recommend everyone learn it as best as you can. And yeah, if anyone does want to learn more about this stuff, whether it's a community or maybe they want some training or courses, I don't know what this looks like, but I've on this website, which is the oneengine.ai, I'm going to type it in the chat right now. There's a getting started. I hope the page works. If it doesn't, then just come back later. And what's behind it is a quick survey. And I just want to learn, how can I help you and help everyone? So I want to know what you guys want built, whether you want to share that private or public, because once I know, then I can make decisions and go, how can we help the community? So I really hope what I've taught here is going to be very valuable. If you want to get started, I don't know if this was too high level or in the middle. Let's once again go back to our lovable dashboard. If you can at least do this to get started, you're on your way. This is the first part of the framework, and then after is kind of like adding the layers, getting uncomfortable with the big beast over here in Claude Cowork. But honestly, my business partner got set up in 1 hour this past weekend, and he's building our whole BI platform internally for StatsDrone. We have Jira tickets, Slack tickets, and what else? And a lot of the messages we have with customers. So it's like, how do we stay on top of customers? We need the analytics to know who's good, who's not good, and who's fixing it. So yeah, you can build all these things, you can model them. And let me go back to here for the closing points. Just want to say thank you. I am co-hosting an event with Next.io 2 days before Next Valletta. So if you use StatsDrone 10 as the discount code, you can get a 10% discount on the tickets. There's limited number. I think we're looking at 200 only. We're going to talk about AI, affiliate marketing, SEO, a lot of the collection of those keywords. So I hope to see you there, and I'll be there if you want to meet in person. I also want to give a shout out to Levon from AFPAPA because they have an event a week before. I'm going to be there as well. So it'd be nice to really get a chance to meet in person. And I think that's about it. I don't know if there's anything left. Let me just go back to my face. Let's see if I can figure this out. All right, that's half of it right there. All right, what's going on in the chats? Bunch of messages. So I'm going to close it up right there. Once again, go to the oneengine.ai site, fill out the form, and yeah, I'd love to hear more from you, see how I can help you. And if you're looking for recommendations of companies that have some of these things built, ready to go, or you want to talk to other experts, because I mean, we can't do everything. We got a lot of friends as mentors and peers that I'd be very happy to introduce to you. I've already mentioned some of them in the chat, but yeah, go back to this page, click on Get Started, and yeah, I'm not sure if that's a real number, but if it is, that's crazy. This might be fake data. I do not know yet, but yeah, just check out this Get Started page, fill it out. Hopefully it works. And yeah, I think that's everything. So I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Yeah, there's a lot to prepare for it. A lot of things I was building almost last minute to go, hey, I wonder if I can actually share this tool that I just built with everyone here. And I have. So on that note, thanks so much. Looking forward to see everyone at AFPAPA in Madrid, Next.io for both Valletta and Next Focus Affiliate. And yeah, thanks for everyone that's been helping us out on this journey. I appreciate it.